My male 34 friend, Chantel, female 25, is pregnant. She only found that out recently. Unfortunately, she found herself being evicted due to rent arrears and has nowhere to go. And the local council won't help her because they claim it's her fault because she refused to pay the landlord. I moved in with my girlfriend a month ago. Evelyn, my girlfriend, female 31, owns her flat. It's got a bedroom, a sitting room, and her home office. I work physically, so I don't need a home office, but she's a translator. She translates books and primarily works from home. When I found out Chantel needed a place to stay, I asked Evelyn, but she refused, claiming she needed her office. I gave her a few days, hoping that she'd understand the difficult position Chantel is in, but she wouldn't budge. So I approached her again, telling her she could work from our bedroom or anywhere, but it's cruel to leave a pregnant young woman alone. Still, she refused, told me she's only met Chantel once, and Chantel was rude to her. I told her it was the hormones, and she shouldn't have taken it personally. She told me I was out of my mind if I thought she'd give up her office for someone who wouldn't even pay rent. I said she couldn't expect a homeless person to pay her rent, and she didn't ask me, so why should my friend? She wasn't happy with that. She told me that was her final answer, and not to bother her any more about that. I said I lived there too, and she must consider my opinion. She replied, "That can change." I told her she was the idiot for saying that, but she replied that I was the idiot for even suggesting something so outrageous. She locked herself in the office to work. I'm furious with her. She's so out of line. I was about to go out with some mates as it was Friday, and I vented to one of them, and he told me that I was the idiot. I thought I was right, but my mate agreeing with her surprised me, and I wondered, was I the idiot? Edit. Perhaps I didn't explain properly. Chantel is a vulnerable young woman needing help that Evelyn could easily provide. You want to move a pregnant woman into your girlfriend's flat and have her give up her own office so your rent-dodging friend has somewhere to stay? That's something. That's about as absurd an idea as I've heard today. You are the idiot. Is the baby yours? Yeah, I'm like, dude is nuking his current relationship. At least the baby better be his. Otherwise, this man is literally destroying his relationship over something that's absolutely none of his business. Dude, it's been a month since you moved in, and you're trying to take over and move in your pregnant, possible side chick who's made herself homeless by refusing to pay rent, and whose only interaction with the person who owns the property has been to be rude to them. You should break up with your girlfriend because she would be better off without you. And they'll be living with a newborn. Even in the best of circumstances, that is not a fun thing. They'll probably expect her to be a second mommy and an ATM and help with changing, feedings, etc. I was also a bit curious about a friendship between OP, 34, and Chantel, 25. How are you guys friends with such a huge age gap? I hope your girlfriend realizes how pathetic you really are and kicks you out. A grown man moving into your girlfriend's flat? Seems like she's already taking on one bum who doesn't pay rent. You're forcing her to take on another one. You're delusional. You don't understand it. OP's a good guy. Get your own place and let Chantel move in there. Then you can help her get back on her feet. Since you seem to be such a nice and caring guy, maybe buy an old building and turn it into a homeless shelter. Evelyn is obviously not seeing what a caring and compassionate man you are. I can't believe your own friend doesn't even see what a heart of gold you have. The nerve of these people. I can see why Chantel would be rude to Evelyn. She's clearly not charitable enough like you are. I genuinely hope you and Chantel start a nonprofit and help others in need with your same level of entitlement. You are the idiot, even if the baby isn't yours. I, female 28, am my brother's teen guardian due to crappy family circumstances. He has a part-time job at a restaurant. On weekdays, he works until 10 p.m. I pick him up from work on weekdays because I don't want him taking the bus at that hour. We live in a big city, and I worry about him being out at night by himself. I went out of town for a few days for work. My boyfriend agreed to pick my brother up from work when I was gone. He only had to pick him up once. When I got back, I found out that he didn't do it. He said that he forgot, despite my texting him twice that day to remind him. He went to hang out with his friends instead. So when my brother texted him to ask if he was coming, he said that he couldn't because he had been drinking. So my brother took the bus instead. I asked my boyfriend about it, and he said it wasn't his fault because he just forgot. And it doesn't matter because nothing happened to my brother anyway. He said before that I'm overprotective of my brother. I disagree with that, but I digress. He didn't apologize and instead said that I was being ridiculous. My brother would probably be okay if he took the bus every night, but I would rather drive him around than roll the dice on that. The area that we live in isn't exactly safe. And regardless, that's not the point. I asked him to do one thing while I was gone, which he agreed to, and then reassured me that he'd do it. I don't believe he actually forgot because he doesn't generally forget to do things when I ask him, but I suppose I can't be certain of that. We got into a fight about it. He said that I was being irrational, but I don't feel like I was wrong for being upset with him. Not the idiot. He said he would do it, and then he didn't do it. You even reminded him to pick your brother up, and he still didn't do it. In my country, we used to say, your word must be as straight as a line. He showed you he couldn't be trusted. Trust that. This. OP, you just learned that you can't rely on your boyfriend for something involving the literal safety of your brother. What if he had been mugged or hurt, or worse? I'm leaning toward boyfriend doing this all on purpose to prove to OP that nothing bad will happen and she's being overprotective. And she should listen to him and everything will be fine. OP, you'll probably always be taking on a parental role with your brother, and now you know you can't trust your partner with him. Flash forward 5 years. Your small child is at school, wondering why daddy didn't come to get him. You find out that daddy forgot and went to his friend's house to have beers. Is this the guy you really want to be with? Absolutely. If it was truly an accident, your boyfriend should have been far more apologetic and appalled at his lapse. The major red flag is him saying you're being irrational. That not only discounts your feelings, but it's also basically gaslighting. OP, your brother, a young man, age 16, likely in school full-time and working weekdays until 10 p.m., needs support. And you're fantastic for providing that for him. Your boyfriend was an idiot for agreeing to help once, failing to do so, and then acting like you're wrong for caring. Facepalm. I'm a single mother of 3 children, 18 female, a teen female, and a tween male. I don't have good financial conditions. My ex-husband pays a low pension. His salary is actually bad, and we don't go hungry, but we don't have luxury. 3 years ago, my father passed away, and I received my share of the inheritance. One of my father's biggest wishes is for us to buy a house, pay off our debts, and even help with the grandchildren's college. To be honest, this money was used to pay off the house and my debts. What was left? I did a big shopping, groceries, and paid the house bills, so I didn't reserve it for my children. It was a difficult decision, but we went from being in debt to living paycheck to paycheck. Not ideal, but much better. Since they were young, I told my children that if they wanted to go to college, I couldn't help them if they decided to go to college outside the city, and that they'd have to work for it. Still, if they stayed in the city, they wouldn't need it so much because they'd live at home. My oldest daughter got into a great college and is looking for jobs in the city, as well as cheap housing and government subsidies for living expenses. An important context: my brother's doing well financially. We don't get along well for random reasons, but our kids are friends. He has a son the same age as mine. In one of her conversations about college with her cousin, she discovered that he had a college fund left with his grandfather's inheritance. I never mentioned to my children that it was my father's desire to help his grandchildren, as it was up to us whether we did that. My daughter, when she found out, said that I could have saved the money for the children and they wouldn't have this difficulty in college, in addition to needing government help or having planned better financially, but that it was selfish to have ignored a grandfather's desire to pay for my things, unlike my brother, who prioritized his son. This hurt me a lot, as it was a necessary decision, but I told her that I did what was necessary to keep food on the table, and she needed to understand our situation better, instead of coming to complain to me about decisions that are solely mine and not hers about this money. We're not on good terms. She still thinks I made a selfish decision. Am I the idiot? Edit. The debts are credit card expenses because I was unemployed then, and I used up my cards for months to have food at home and pay the mortgage so we wouldn't be homeless. And the big groceries purchase was because we needed it after months of having the bare minimum at home. But 90% went to pay for the house. These wishes of my father's were never written in a will, only what the division would be. But he always told his children how he would like us to spend it. So it was $120K. $110K went to the home, paid it all off. $8K for my debts, and $2K for groceries and paying bills. If it was of the utmost importance that the money go to your kids' education, he could have set it up that way in his will. He didn't, and left everything to you instead. Not the idiot. It's not like you're using the money for vacations instead of funding their education. Also, you have minor children in the home currently. Housing and food take precedence over post-secondary education. I've also seen how parents and grandparents leave what they think are life-changing amounts of money to people, but it barely covers anything. The fact is, there was an extra, and by not being evicted and homeless, it did help your kids out. It just couldn't stretch to have any college funds after. Exactly. How are you supposed to pay for kids' college if you're homeless? College is, unfortunately, a luxury. But you really should have sat your kids down at the time and shared the details of Grandpa's desires, that he had 3 wishes, and unfortunately, it wasn't going to be enough to cover their college. Could your daughter also be hurt that you didn't tell her back then when you got this info? And finding out from her cousin made her feel like you lied to her. For not being forthcoming, you are the idiot. I gave birth to my and my husband's son last year, and we named him Keen. The name was not popular among my husband's family. They have a long tradition of juniors. My husband, his dad, his grandpa, great-grandpa, and great-great-grandpa all have the same first and middle name. We broke from tradition with our son, with my husband's strong encouragement and support. Nobody really said much when he was born. We did notice some looks from his mom and sister especially, but as long as they weren't telling us to change it, then it's whatever. About a month and a half ago, they started to call my son Malcolm and Junior. Junior didn't bother me, but my husband spoke up when it was Malcolm and Mal and Malcolm Jr. They said it was just a little fun thing, that he was the first grandson and the first in generations not to get the name. He said we don't want him to be a junior. They assured us it would stop, but it didn't. My husband told me we should take a break from each other since they couldn't accept our son's name and continue to disrespect our choice by calling him what they wish we had named him. Sister-in-law sent me a Facebook message not long after saying it was a dumb name and we ruined our son's life by naming him after a band, especially a band that nobody his age will have heard of. I responded that she was entitled to her opinion, and it was a good thing she didn't need to be around us when she felt that way. Then both my mother-in-law and sister-in-law showed up at my home while my husband was at work. I answered the door, and they said we were over the top, over a name, and what was the harm in them calling our son the name he should have been given? I told them there was no name he should have been given, that we gave him a name we loved and felt would serve him well, and that the name was not my husband's name, that he's not another junior, and they should learn to accept that. They yelled that I was too controlling and rejecting a perfectly good name and destroying a family tradition. I shut the door in their face. They called my husband's work line and said I was rude to them and super controlling. He told me to ignore them, but I wonder if I should have left this whole thing alone with them. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Screw that nonsense. Start calling them Beryl and Linda just because that's what you prefer. Unless you're in a royal dynasty, traditionally, when the oldest living Malcolm dies, all the suffixes go back down one. So Malcolm Jr. becomes Malcolm, third becomes Junior, etc. Only living people are traditionally included in the order. In my family, we have this fun tradition where every child gets their own name, chosen by the parents. I just couldn't break with tradition. Holy smokes! If sister-in-law is so set that a boy needs to be called Malcolm Jr., she can have one of her own. Your child's name is none of their business, and their refusing to call him by his name is petty and controlling. Hubby needs to tell them off, not just for that, but also for trying to corner you at your home and attempting to start stuff between the two of you by calling him. This reminds me of my mom's family when naming my sister. There had been a Winifred in my mom's family for generations, and my Aunt Winnie told my mom she should call my sister Winifred to keep it going. My mom told her to name her daughter if she wanted to keep it going, but no way was my mom doing it. As sixth in line of 7 with the same name, sorry, your husband's family are such jerks. Nicknames are one thing, but these people are going to an extreme. Honestly, I wouldn't be able to see these people again without a huge apology and a change of behavior. Like they showed up at your house to yell at you about you being mad at them for doing something they shouldn't be doing. Nope, nope, nope. You know how you can keep them from calling your kid Junior? Keep the kid away from them. Problem solved. You need to stop responding. Get a doorbell camera so you can see who's outside. Don't answer their text or calls. Your husband has put up a boundary with his family. Let him deal with their craziness. My wife and I recently had a son, and we named him Alec. My sister was the only person who asked, why Alec and not Alex? And we said we liked Alec a little more. She argued that it was a dumb choice when everyone would call him Alex. I told her, so far, she was the only one who had, and that maybe it's her that needs to listen better or respect people's names more. She sulked for a few days and then told me that Alec is a dumb name. She doesn't like it, and she doesn't think we should have chosen it for our son. And if we have to stay close to it, we should just correct the spelling to Alex, or just take her opinion of the name on board and change it. I waited until she was finished, and I told her that her opinion on Alex's name is useless to my wife and me, and she should kindly not keep sharing it or try overwhelming my wife with it, who's developed pretty serious postpartum anxiety. My sister did not respond well to what I said and took more offense to the part about her opinion being useless to us. She said that the family should always be able to share their opinion. I told her maybe about some things, but only some things, especially when the topic is nothing to do with you. Our parents think I should have spoken to her more kindly and been less harsh about her opinion. Clearly, my sister also thinks that, and she's still cranky with me. Am I the idiot? Oh no, Papa, not the idiot times 1,000. Your sister was way out of bounds. You sticking up for your family sets a good precedence here. You did well. Let Sissy get cranky. If her name lends itself to it, you can call her by a name that is like, but different from the real name. Say Marie instead of Maria, or Witchy instead of, you get the idea. If she complains, tell her you like your alternative version better. And what's the big deal? Some gentle sibling ribbing here might bring home the point. I wonder though, maybe the name has a special meaning to her, like maybe an ex who cheated or something like that. Also, she voiced her opinion. Once was enough. However, what she did later isn't voicing an opinion. It's imposing that opinion and actively trying to control someone's actions. So that opinion will be honored? OP's way more generous with his patience than I am. I would match her energy and let her know how stupid she was for her unsolicited comments and how even more ridiculous she was for insulting a newborn for his name, and how ridiculously stupid of her to double down. Honestly, if I were OP, I'd go no contact with the sister until she can say that baby's name correctly.